And now, for the week of October 31st, Photoshop TV is on the air.
Welcome to Photoshop TV from the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. And here's your hosts, the Photoshop guys, Scott Kelby, Dave Cross, and Matt Kloskowski.
All right, welcome to Photoshop TV from the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. I'm Scott Kelby, and joining me, of course, are my co-hosts in the studio. First, Mr. Matt Kloskowski.
Hello again.
And representing the country of Canada, the great country of Canada, as always, the whole entire country, Mr. Dave Cross.
Hello, everybody.
Well, welcome back. It's our second episode. We're really excited to have a second episode because everybody said they'll never have a second episode.
Including us. Everybody hoped there would never be a second
but there is a second episode, and it's actually just a week after our first episode. So much has happened since then, I can't even tell you. Well, first you can see we're in different surroundings. We're actually now coming to you direct from the graphics department at the National Association of Photoshop Professional. All surrounding us are people they're actually working and trying to do their job. These are the people that produce Photoshop, the user magazine, and all the stuff that NAP does. And in a little while, we're going to send Dave out with his Dave cam, if you saw the first episode, and actually show you some of them. We'll annoying them while they're working. We'll come by, give you a peek at them while they're working. But they are actually all behind us. We got a lot of neat stuff from last show. Because one of the things that Matt said, you know what we need? We need more content next show. And I said, yes, next show, more content. We have double the content we do. We have more tips, more tricks. We've got more news. We just more of more. Plus we have, besides we're going to pick the winner of the iPod Nano from last week. We're going to pick the winner, and of course 10 people won t-shirts to enter our contest. We have a new contest with way cool prizes. We also have a special appearance today from the iPod Flea girl. The girl who was featured in the Apple parody ad for the iPod Flea is actually here today. She's on no other podcast in the world but this one, at least for one more week. So we have her today as an in-studio guest. We're pretty excited about that. And besides the giveaways and everything else, we actually have a sponsor for this show. Yay! The sponsor is iStockPhoto.com, the fantastic people at iStockPhoto. Now, if you've never been to iStockPhoto.com, if you're a graphic designer, go there. You'll be amazed at the selection of stock photography. If you're a photographer, go there. If you don't even own photos, or if you don't even have a computer, go there anyway. It's just a very attractive site. Anyway, I just want to let you know, just because in our second show we already have a big-time sponsor, we are not going to sell out or anything like that. You won't see us drinking from like iStockPhoto.com mugs, or people coming onto the set and handing us iStockPhoto gear like this bag. And anyway, go to iStockPhoto.com. Are very, 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 of all the sponsors we have, they're our very favorite. Seriously. All right, now, we're going to start off things today by picking the winner for the iPod. So let's go ahead and do that first. Mr. Cross, you'll grab, we have a high-tech device used for picking names, and Matt's going to reach in and pick the winner of the iPod Nano from last week's contest. Now, this was a person that answered our trivia question correctly. We chose from all the names.
Hundreds. Literally hundreds.
There was like 6 people. No, there was many, many people.
Some people will get 2 t-shirts because we're just going to give them away. All right, ready?
Here we go.
We have Nicholas Huff from San Antonio, Texas.
All right.
So,
San Antonio!
Congratulations, Nicholas.
We are sending you an iPod Nano courtesy of the Photoshop guys at the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. All right, so.
And 10 people will get t-shirts. We're just not announcing those, but we'll email them, right?
Yeah.
And we email them because we're not going to name the 10 people. But however, 10 more of you will have a chance to win the Photoshop TV emblazoned with our logo t-shirts later today in the contest. Now, first we're going to start off with a tip. I'm going to do a tutorial for you, and this tutorial is basically, it's a tutorial for photographers, especially outdoor photographers. Now, when you're out there shooting in the field, a lot of times you're shooting outdoors, you're going to use, and you've probably heard this, referred to as a neutral density gradient filter. It's a little gradient. Sometimes they're square, sometimes they're round. Hoya makes nice when you put them on the front of your cameras. And basically, it darkens the sky and gradiates down. So that way you can expose for the ground, but you don't wind up with your sky being too light. Well, it's great if you have those filters. They're anywhere from about $79 to $150. It's great if you have those filters, but what if you either don't have that filter or you forgot to put it on your camera? You open the shot in Photoshop.
What do you do?
I have no idea. No, I'm going to show you right now. Okay, so let's take a look. All right, well, here's the shot. Now, you can see the photographer that took this shot obviously exposed for the ground, and you can see how light the sky is. And that's where normally the neutral density gradient filter would help you out. So let's go ahead and open up the layers palette. And what we're going to do to make sure, first is, make sure that your foreground color is set to black. All right, step one, set your foreground color to black. Secondly, what we need to do is you're going to go and create an adjustment layer. Go right up here to the adjustment layer pop-up menu, and I'm going to zoom in for you, right there. So there, zoom in, and we're going to choose gradient, right there. All right, so click gradient, and that brings up the old gradient fill dialog box that you can see here. Let me bring it into view a little bit better. All right, now, as you can see to our photo, what it did, it put a gradient on the ground. It's not going to help us very much. So what you're going to do is you're going to click the reverse button, and this moves the gradient up top. Now, you can click OK, and then what we're going to need to do is change the blend mode here in the layers palette. We're going to change it from normal. Let me zoom in so you can see. We're going to change it from normal to overlay, just like that. Now, if you're listening to this on Photoshop Radio, you're probably wondering, why are they zooming in and zooming out? Because we're actually on Photoshop TV now. So if you're listening on radio, go to photoshoptv.com and watch. You can actually see pictures. You can see this photograph that I keep talking about. Okay, so here we are. Now, you can see what the problem is here. Although, yeah, it did darken the sky, make that a lot nicer, but look how far the gradient goes down. Well, so what you're going to have to do once you apply this is basically double-click back on this color fill dialog box, okay, and click right on the gradient right here, which brings up the gradient editor, the giant gradient editor right here. Now, you see on this right side over here, let me just zoom in a little bit. See that right side right there? There's that little color stop. We're going to drag that to the left, and as we do it, look over here in your photo. You see how it just moved up there? We're going to bring it up to where it just affects the sky and not the ground. All right, click OK, and there you can see. We actually might have gone a little too far. I'm going to bring it back down. Here we go. There we go. All right, and click OK. So this is one of those ones that it really pays to watch it on Photoshop TV rather than listen to it on Photoshop Radio. So we're going to click OK. And then I'll show you a before and after. I'm going to drag this off screen, and I'm going to hide the layer so you can see before and after. See how it washed out the sky, and then when you add the layer, see there how washed out it is? Then you add the layer, and it's much, much better. So you're replicating a neutral gradient density filter.
Very nice.
Neutral density gradient filter right from within Photoshop.
For much less price.
For much less money, and you can do it after the fact. So that's my first tutorial here today on Photoshop TV. So now you know what to do. If you don't have the filter, you can do it right there in Photoshop. Okay, before we go into some more tips and some more stuff, we've got some Photoshop news. I'll go ahead and kick things off. Nah, well, let Dave kick it off. Dave, give me some news.
Okay, well, one bit of news I thought would be interesting to share is Corel just introduced a version of Painter called Painter Essentials, which is kind of a lower-priced version of Painter. So if you've been thinking about exploring the way that Painter and Photoshop work together, instead of having to spend the full price you used to have to, now for $89 you can get a version that you can try out and see if you like the way that the Painter and Photoshop work together.
Is that US dollars, Dave?
That is US dollars.
Okay,
even though it is a Canadian company, it is US dollars.
Excellent. What do you got, Matt?
I got www.damnuseful.com. Now, before people start sending in emails, just the words I'm using, DAM stands for Digital Asset Management, useful.com, but they've actually got some really useful scripts for Photoshop Bridge on there. So it's damnuseful.com. They've got something called Pimp My Bridge.
Darn useful stuff.
So, see, we're trying to inch up that popularity by throwing naughty stuff in.
No, it's really cool. There's some great Photoshop and Bridge scripts right inside there.
It's almost like you have to say DAM useful.
DAM useful.com. Some of the scripts are free, some of you got to pay for, but go check it out.
And if you don't happen to have a pen handy, or you're driving in the car listening in your iPod, or jogging listening to this, you can always go to Photoshop TV, where we have direct links to all things like that damn useful website.
Damn useful.
Okay, I've got some news. Now this is kind of, it's like secret news, okay? Do you hear that sound? It sounds like Godzilla's walking on our roof. Okay. The news is this.
Godzilla's walking on
our
our
roof. No,
roof.
that's not the news. The news is this, is somebody made a mistake. Now, at Nikon's website, because there's been some rumors about a new D200. Well, apparently, somebody at Nikon accidentally posted the page, and now it's all over the web. So I'm not telling you anything that everybody doesn't already know that has been to those photographic websites, but if you haven't been to a photographic website that's spilling the beans, I'm going to spill a little of it for you right now. So It looks like it's coming out, I would say, any day now. The Nikon D200, I wrote a couple of specs down. It looks like it's going to be a 10.2 megapixel camera. It looks like it's going to shoot, I'm just guessing, about 5 frames per second, though I'm not sure. But if it had a battery life that would shoot 1,800 shots on one battery, that would be good.
Nice.
I bet people would be willing to pay around $1,699 for that. Anyway, what I would do is I would keep an eye on Nikon's website. I think it's nikonusa.com to see the new scoop on what could be a new camera, or just visit any photography website in the world and you'll find it there.
The unofficial news.
All right, what's next? I have no idea.
Seminar dates. Dave's going to be somewhere soon.
Dave's going to
Yes,
be somewhere soon.
I'm going to be somewhere. Actually, I'm going to be in Chicago on November 4th doing the Photoshop CS2 Power Tour, and then on Monday, November 7th in New York doing the same tour there, so check it out.
There's nothing sadder than Canadians
Canadian New York
trying to do
accent.
a New York accent.
Okay,
It's
New
sad.
York, eh? Come and see me.
All right, let's see. Also, if you're not able to be in one of those two cities to see Dave Cross, and actually it's worth the drive or a plane flight to see Dave Cross. Also, we have Ben Wilmore and Burt Monroy out on the road. I believe Ben is in San Diego sometime next week, November something. And then Burt Monroy is in Portland, Oregon, on November something. Normally we'd know the dates, but our producer, she drinks a lot. Anyway, no, it's not a lot. It's just casual drinking. Anyway, go to photoshopseminars.com or go to the Photoshop TV website. We'll have those dates that I should have memorized. It's not really her fault. It's really my fault, but I like to cast the blame on others. Dave, why didn't you have those dates down? Matt.
I'm going to the website.
Matt will be nowhere. No, Matt is actually somewhere. You know where Matt will be? Matt will be with me in Japan, at Tokyo, Japan, at the Shinagawa Prince Hotel for Photoshop World Japan. For the first time ever, we're going to Japan. We're very excited. So if you happen to be in Tokyo, stop by the Shinagawa Prince Hotel on November 9th and 10th for Photoshop World Japan. You can find more about that at photoshopworld.jp. Okay, now it's time for our trivia question. Dave Cross is a trivia machine. He has a trivia question. Now, this is not the trivia contest. This is just the trivia question because we're going to take a commercial break. He's going to give you a trivia question. When we come back from the break, he'll have the answer for you. So here we go. Today's trivia question from Dave Cross, the Trivia Master.
Okay, this one it concerns how anytime they're developing a new version of Photoshop, they give it a code name. So, which of the following was not an actual code name for a version of Photoshop? And the choices are Big Electric Cat.
That's not it. No.
Big Electric Cat, Space Monkey, Dark Tower, or Strange Cargo. Which one of those four was not an actual code name for Photoshop? And we'll tell you right after this.
B. We'll be right back.
Photoshop training videos? You can learn at your own pace. Each of the titles is focused so you get just what you want. Leading Photoshop gurus and the best-selling authors on the planet are your featured instructors. And the great thing is that with Fast Forward and Rewind, you learn at the speed that's right for you. Just stop by photoshopvideos.com.
Okay, we're back, and we're going to answer, first of all, the trivia question, which I'm sure will be displayed on the screen, so I won't have to answer or mention all those choices again, but the real answer was Dark Tower was not a code name for a previous version of Photoshop. So there you have it, today's trivia. And now, Matt is going to share with us a little tip. Matt?
All right, got a great little tip for you here on using keyboard shortcuts. So here's a great thing that you can do if you use adjustment layers often, or if you just use adjustments often. Let's say you want to add a curves or a levels adjustment quickly. Well, instead of just using the keyboard shortcut to add a curves adjustment, which is a permanent change, go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and we're going to create a keyboard shortcut for the adjustment layer here. So go under the Layer menu, and then scroll down until you find New Adjustment Layer. Go to Curves. You see here I type Control-M. Well, let's go to Levels, and let's type Control-L. And you get a little warning that tells you it's going to replace the other adjustment shortcut. That's okay because we want it to. And click on Accept, press OK, and now when I press Control-L on my photo here, I get a new layer, get a new levels adjustment layer, so now I'm always using adjustment layers instead of using that permanent levels adjustment.
All right, thanks, Matt. Great tip. I use that myself personally all the time for both curves and levels.
Hey, you're welcome. Have a cup of coffee.
A cup of coffee, courtesy of iStock Photo.
What do you got on that screen there, Dave? Is that?
Well, I will be using on a stock photo, courtesy of iStock, for this next little tutorial that I'd like to share with you now. All right, I'm going to share with you a little tip that I like because it gives a really cool effect, perfect for Halloween, but also is very editable, very flexible. And here's what we're going to do. We want to highlight part of this photo so that the area inside my little selection is going to be in color, but the outside part will be in black and white. We're going to do it in a very flexible manner. So I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to fill that selection with basically any color other than white. And the reason I say other than white is because I want to add a stroke. And if it was a white box, then I'd have a white stroke and it wouldn't work. So let's just pull this enormous stroke dialog box into here. We want to change this to white. And we want to be fairly large, like something like 15. And we also want to make sure the position here says inside, because we want to make sure that we can see it. Now at this point, it doesn't look like it's worked very successfully because you can't see the photo in behind. What we're going to do is take this fill opacity and put it all the way down to 0. So now we just see the stroke. We just see the stroke, or the stroke, or the stroke, whichever way you look at it. And at this point, now I'm going to Command on the Macintosh or Control on the Windows, click on this layer thumbnail to load the selection. And then I'm going to add a hue saturation adjustment layer. Now this is one of these things where it kind of looks complicated at first. Once you do it the first time, it's a breeze. And as you'll see, you can even reuse it. Now, be prepared when you do this the first time. It's going to look wrong because at the moment, it's the wrong way around. It's black and white in the middle and color on the outside. But we're going to fix that in a moment. All I need to do is go to this adjustment layer and do the inverse. Command or Control I, and now you see it's the opposite way around. So that's kind of the basis of the idea. But check this out. If I now select both these layers, here's what's going to happen. Move this out of the way a little bit. I can now take my Move tool, and wherever I move, look at this. Look at that. The middle part stays in color. The outer part stays in black and white. I can even free transform and rotate at different angles. And best of all, if I have another photograph, I can even drag and drop those two layers and put the same effect on a different photo.
Dave, that's the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I like it. I use it seldomly, but it's a cool idea. And once you use it once, as I said, you can reuse it over and over again in every situation.
Dave uses it 7 times a day, all the time.
All the time.
Always. It's his favorite
technique. It is my favorite. I use it even when it doesn't call for it because it's so cool. So that's my little tutorial. And now we'll go back to something else, shall we? So there you go, a quick little tutorial. And now, back to you, Scott.
All right, it's almost time for our special walk-on guest. That's right, we have the iPod Flea Girl is going to be here in just a minute. Before we do, I got a couple things real quick. Number one is I want to thank all of our I don't want to say listeners, all of the people who watch Photoshop TV because...
Hats off to all the people that watch Photoshop
hats
TV.
Off.
Hats off.
Anyway, I'm sorry, let me just get a sip of my iStock photo coffee. Okay, anyway, I want to thank all the people who watched last week because as we are filming this right now, we are the #2 of all iPod video podcasts, or all iPod, all podcasts on the Apple iTunes Music Store right now. So thank you to everybody. Tell everybody tell people you don't even know about Photoshop TV.
Stop them on the street and say, check this out.
And of course, we have our big giveaway, but to bring out our giveaway prize, we have a very, very special in-studio guest. First, let's take a look at the clip from the famous iPod parody, the iPod Flea, so we can see our guest in action. Let's take a quick look at that first. All right, and she's here with us live in the studio. Everyone, please welcome, and I mean all of you at home, please welcome Stephanie, the iPod Flea Girl. Woo! Here she is. Step right into the frame. Here she is. And she's carrying what appears to be a huge, huge camera bag. Now, before we tell you about the bag, because this is the concept, we have to tell you a little bit about Stephanie, because we are the only show that has Stephanie. And let me tell you why. There's a secret reason why she only chooses to come on our show and will be seen on no other show. It's because of her last name, Stephanie Cross. That's right. She's Dave's daughter. So we had her sign a non-compete clause so she could go on nobody else's. So you will only see Stephanie here, and we think this is going to push us to #1. Anyway. So here, what she's carrying, and she could barely carry it because it's very large, is a phenomenal. It's a giant. Let me just show you because I actually have it written here, but it have to take off my glasses because it's so small. It's a Stealth Reporter 650 AV emblazoned with the Nap logo, and you can't buy these in stores. You can buy this bag, but not with the Nap logo. And you're going to be able to win this for free for answering a very easy trivia question. But inside the bag is where the excitement is. Will you show them what's inside the bag?
I can hardly contain my excitement.
What's in the bag?
You mean in the place where you could put your laptop?
Or the place where you can put your camera.
Your camera or your laptop, it holds them both. Is a DVD. Incredible. Let me just take a look at that, Stephanie. Thank you. This is a great DVD. It's called How to Show Your Photos Like a Pro. It's by one of my favorite instructors. Me. I thought you were going to rat me out when I said that. Okay, so anyway, you get both the DVD worth $39.95, and this bag is worth, what, $3,000 or something? It's very, very expensive, but it holds all your equipment. It holds, obviously, DVDs as well. And we're giving it away to some lucky trivia person. So how about a nice hand for Stephanie,
Thank you,
our on-show guest. Mr. Cross, what is the trivia question? Now, here's the rules. He's going to give you the trivia question. You're going to email us your answer. If the answer is correct, we're going to choose one lucky winner to win the bag, the camera bag, and 10.
Can I add something?
And Matt likes to add something.
When you email your response in, email once. One
Yes.
time will do. There's a gentleman named Darren. Darren, you know who you are. I don't have to remind you. Email it once because it doesn't get you any more chances to win. Sorry.
One chance per person. That's a good
One
point.
trans,
One entry per person.
One entry
One
per
trans.
person. So 10 people that don't actually win the giant Stephanie bag, we call it, will actually win a T-shirt with emblazoned with our logo that's not fuzzy like this television. Okay, so Dave, what is this week's trivia question?
This week's question for the big contest is, what was Adobe named after?
Dave Cross!
It was named after Dave Cross. No,
I thought it was my dad, Frank Adobe, but I gather that's not
Okay,
the case.
so what was
Adobe
Adobe
named after?
And how do they enter? What address do they send your email to?
Matt,
you know.
you're the keeper of the questions.
It's a good question.
We don't know clearly.
Now I remember. It's Photoshop TV at PhotoshopUser.com.
Photoshop TV.
Photoshop TV.
at PhotoshopUser.com. Send in your entries and
Once.
once, and next Friday we will choose a winner, or this Friday actually. This Friday we will choose a winner. This Friday we're picking names, so make sure you get them into us beforehand. Also, Dave Cross was kind enough. You know this is Halloween week, and he brought us in some props, and I'm very excited to show you the bloody stump. So this is the extent of our. We're so creative. We have the bloody stump as part of the show. Hey, high five, man.
My hands are
High five. All right. Okay. We've got some more news, some tips. Someone's going to do this. Who's going to do the next tip?
Stephanie.
Well, I have a tip I could do if you so desire. We can do
Dave
that.
Cross, ladies and gentlemen, bringing it to town from up north. I'm so sorry. I know that you're never going to watch this show again. It's because of bad jokes like that. Dave, go do your thing.
All right. I'm going to go over there and do that. All right, this is a quick little tip, but it's kind of an interesting situation when you want to make multiple selections on something where the selections are exactly the same size and exactly the same distance apart. So I want to make my first selection this size, but then have a bunch of those that are the same. So what I end up doing to be able to do this is go into Quick Mask, use my magic wand to make a selection. Here's the tricky part of this tip. I'm going to press Command-Option-T on the Mac, that'd be Control-Alt-T in the Windows platform, which gets me to free transform with a little extra twist. Now if I hold down the Option key on the Mac, Alt for Windows, and drag straight down like this, then I hit Enter, that'll make my second selection that distance apart. Now, if I press the entire left side of the keyboard, Command-Option-Shift-T, which would be Control-Alt-Shift-T on Windows, watch what happens. It repeats the same transformation. So now I get two more. When I'm happy with it, I go out of Quick Mask, and now I have 4 lovely selections, all neatly spaced apart and just perfect, just the way I want, just like that. How about that for a quick little tip that you can use, again, once every 14 months or so. All right, so there's my quick little tip, and now we're going to get Matt to do something. Do you need a hand with that tip, or are you okay?
Thank you. That helps out a lot, thanks. All right, so now you take the hand and just... No.
bad.
Bad computer.
Bad.
Okay, get on with your tip, will you?
All right, so I got a great tip here. This one is actually, it was inspired by when I was up in Maine a couple weeks ago. We talked about that last week. The Northeast has gotten a tremendous amount of rain in the last few months, so fall has not really been fall in the Northeast. There's a lot of green trees up there. And my memory got jogged by a NAT member named Andrew Solomon who sent in this idea, and I actually used it on my photo. This was one that I took in Maine, and we're going to add a hue saturation adjustment layer to it. And if you look at it, there's a lot of green trees in this photo. So I'll add a hue saturation adjustment layer. I'm going to go to the edit menu. I'm going to scroll down to yellows, and let's move the window off to the side. I'm going to bump the saturation up, not too much, just a little bit. And if you look at the photo in the back, see how it increased the saturation in a lot of the colors. Well, I'm not going to click OK yet. I'm going to go up to hue. I'm just going to move the hue over just a little bit to the left, and that starts introducing a little bit of orange into the photo. Click on OK, and now take a look. There's before, and there's after. So it's a pretty dramatic effect. That's after, and then that's before. Again, after, before. If you look at another photo, it's just as quick. I added a hue saturation adjustment layer to this one. That was before. Again, this was the middle of October up in Maine. So if you can imagine, look at all the green trees that I had in the scenery here. That's before, and that's after. So it's a nice way to add fall to your photos if you're not in a situation where you have fall. All right, that's it for me.
All right, now I got a quick tip. Now, a lot of the tips today have been for photographers and very photography-based. This one's for everybody else. This one's kind of the graphic-y, I use type tip. And because I'm kind of a type tweaker, and if you're a type tweaker and you know who you are, you can get into your palette and you look in there and the tracking's at like 1600 and the leading's at like 90 and you got all these wild things. So how do you get back real quickly when you want to write like just a regular piece of text without it being all expanded and scaled and all that kind of stuff? Well, believe it or not, there's one little shortcut that a lot of people don't know. It's not really a shortcut, it's a little menu selection. A lot of people don't know about that sets your character palette back to its defaults, and here it is. Here's the character palette. Let's zoom way in so you can see it. Look at the size of that character palette. It's huge. Okay, here's the character palette. You can see the type is 18 point. You got 36 point leading. You have like 1600 here in the tracking and all this. And look, you've got stuff underlined and all this crazy stuff. Well, here's what to do. When you want to get back and just create regular text, to jump back to the defaults, just go here to the pop-up menu, and at the very bottom that you can't see, you'll have to scroll all the way down, is Reset Character. Choose that, and you'll notice that everything is immediately set back to its default. It chooses Helvetica as the default font, and basically it puts you at 50 points and sets your leading to auto and everything back, so you can quickly get back to a world of happiness in your font. So there it is, a quick. Look how impressed they are.
Very
Dave,
nice.
they're stunned. Anyway,
Stunned silence.
stunned silence. You know what it is? You've never seen a character palette quite that large and moving, and it's animated. Okay. Anyway, that's my tip for this afternoon or today, or whatever this is. Let me just cut that out of there and say, and that's my tip. And now, as we bring this episode to a close, don't be sad because it's time for Dave Cross's Dave Cam. That's right, we're going to take you on a quick little tour around people's desks here in the graphics department at the National Association of Photoshop Professionals. We're going to annoy them and basically spy on them as they work. But you get to watch because we care. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Dave, do you have any final parting words?
Just to make mention, don't forget to go to photoshoptv.com to get all the links that we've mentioned today to the various websites and other bits of information.
And don't forget to subscribe using iTunes. Go to Apple's website, download iTunes 6. That's the number 6. iTunes 6. Download it and you can watch us for free and subscribe. Make sure you subscribe so you get every single episode and try to help to push us up to number 1. We're number 2. We want to be number 1. So anyway, thanks again for watching on behalf of myself and Matt Poskowski.
Thank you.
Mr. Krosky.
Thank you.
Rocking the house key. We'll see you guys next week on Photoshop TV.